Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Delta Project podcast, where we teach you how to maximize your results with minimalist fitness strategies like grind style calisthenics and satisfying diet-free healthy eating strategies. My name is Matt Schifferly, founder of the Red Delta Project, author of books like Smart Bodyweight Training and Grind Style Calisthenics. Today we're talking another Q&A. You asked me great questions. I want to give you the best answers I got, so without further ado, let's get into it. First question is kind of a general question that I get from a lot of people, which is how to still stay in shape even though you have counterproductive or negative influences in your life. People ask me all the time, it's like, how can I eat well even though my roommates are always bringing junk food around? Or how can I exercise when I'm always tired from my job and I don't have any time? And there's a number of things to look at with this. The first is that counterproductive influences are always going to be in your life. It's never going to be perfect. And people who are always waiting for things to be perfect, it's never going to be like that, or at least long enough like that to produce any sort of significant results. The people who are successful in this game are the ones who look at their situation, warts and all, and say, all right, this is what I've got, but let me still make the best of my situation. It's breaking out of that all or nothing mentality. So they're saying, I don't have much time, but what can I do in 15 minutes? I don't have much energy, but what can I do with the energy I have, or the food resources I have, or whatever? That mentality is the key to moving forward and making progress. Because if you use the most of what you've got, you're actually going to find in time that your resources improve. You'll find you'll have more time for exercise. Your food resources will improve. You'll notice things around you that say, well, now I can do this in order to improve my diet. Always be looking for opportunity, because if your mind is always focusing on the negative things about how it's so impossible and you can't do anything, all those opportunities are going to pass you right by and you're never going to see them. And there is always opportunity in everything. You can put me in any situation and I can teach you, yes, we can still do something here. We're at McDonald's, we can still have a halfway decent meal. Or we've only got 5 minutes, not a problem. I can give you a full body workout that's going to be effective. Next question is on undulating intensity. This idea of with each workout in a week or so on, you don't do things at the same level of intensity, but you change it around. So let's say you have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday split. So Monday would be a light day, high rep. Then Wednesday would be medium day, medium repetition. And then Friday would be lower repetition, heavier resistance. This is a fantastic strategy and one I'm definitely a big fan of, because doing things around a range of repetitions and resistances is very healthy for the joints. It's good for the nervous system, gives you something new and kind of something to look forward to in each workout, promotes muscle growth. I mean, I could go on and on. This is a good way to go. The exception for this is if you want to focus in one area. So if you're saying, I want to improve my muscle endurance, or I want to focus really on strength, then stick with one of those levels of intensity and rep ranges. But if that's not your case, then by all means, go high rep, low rep, medium rep. Do it throughout the week, throughout the month, 1 week to the next. Do it in the same workout. Do as many push-ups as you possibly can in under 5 minutes. Then do some really heavy dips. It really doesn't matter too much on how you adjust and undulate, as long as it's just something that works for you and it fits your preferences and your schedule. Speaking of schedule, the next question is, what are the best exercises for when you're short on time? The answer for this is actually, it's a really good exercise to do. Is you sit down and you say, all right, you only have 5 minutes. What's the exercise that you want to do? Or you only have a little bit of food, like what could you do? A friend of mine and I the other day were saying, you can only have one kind of food and you're stranded on a desert island. What would it be? These sorts of constrained situations are actually a very good opportunity to focus on what's most important, because the exercises that are best to do when you're short on time are going to be the best exercises for you to do for your goals, period. So in my case, I want to do muscle building calisthenics exercises. So what's that going to be? Push-ups, dips, pull-ups, lunges, squats, and so on. Maybe you have different goals. It could be a kettlebell exercise. Okay, what are the best exercises? Well, what's the best kettlebell exercise for your goal? I need to pass the snatch test, Dragon Door. Okay, then snatches are going to be your number one thing to work on. I want to improve my jump shot. Well, then jump shots. Whatever is most important for your goal, that's a thing to do, because when we give ourselves a constrained system, we actually give ourselves the freedom to do more productivity with less time and energy. And it's a very good exercise to be doing. By the way, the answer that I gave for if you're stranded on a desert island and you can only have one kind of food would be Japanese food, especially sushi. I could do anything with sushi. I can deconstruct it, I can cook it, I can make different types of food because you've got rice, you've got vegetables, you got fish. You can make a ton of different dishes with sushi. So that was my thing. But what about you? Leave it down below in the comment section. What would you want to have as your number one food of choice if you're stranded on a desert island? And if you had only 5 minutes in your workout, what exercise would you prefer to do? Next question was, what's more important for muscle growth? Volume or intensity? The debate is always ranging. Well, it's obviously both, because we could go to the extreme on either side and realize it's not the answer. It's volume. Okay, so running a marathon is going to make you get huge jacked legs? No, but that's a ton of volume. Or it's intensity. Okay, so if you have one real hard exercise and you do one rep once a week, that's going to produce much? No, you need some volume there too. It's obviously a balancing act, and everybody's going to be different because some people respond more to volume, some people respond more to intensity. My experience is it's largely due to kind of almost a personality and athletic history thing. If we're sitting down and I say, well, tell me about your athletic history, and you're like, oh yeah, I played rugby, I ran the sprints in track and field, and I also played football. I'm like, okay, you're gonna be more of an intensity individual, and we're gonna program lower volume workouts, higher intensity. But if you're like, I ran cross country and I ran the mile in track and field, and I like to do endurance work, okay, the volume stuff is probably going to be more in your wheelhouse. That's probably what you're going to respond to. But at the end of the day, always remember that it's neither volume nor intensity that are the driver for muscle growth or building strength, because it's the progression of both over time that's going to get you what you want. You can have all the volume or intensity in the world, but if your workout stays the same, you're going to stay the same. That's why you always want to keep a log. You always want to be writing down, what am I going to do next workout that's 1% better than last time? Add a rep, improve technique, whatever it is, because it's the progression of your workout that drives your results, not just focusing on how much volume or intensity you can pack into a workout. And the final question is, do we really need to worry so much, and do we really have an idea on what really is dangerous about inflammation? And inflammation is a very big buzzword right now. I swear, you could point to anything and say that causes inflammation, and people are going to get their torches and pitchforks against it like crazy. But there's good reasons for this. That's the good news, is chronic inflammation is linked to all sorts of problems and diseases and stuff. So it's good that we know about this. But on the other hand, there's a lot that we're not necessarily getting wrong, but we wildly don't understand about chronic inflammation, because we keep pointing at one thing or the other and say that's causing inflammation, when it's too much of a focus, because what really actually causes inflammation isn't your diet, it isn't your workout program, and it isn't anything specific to do with your lifestyle. Because chronic inflammation doesn't come from processed foods. It doesn't come from workouts that are longer than 45 minutes or staying up at night. Chronic inflammation comes from chronic stress on both mind, body, and maybe even emotionally stress. Now, the reason why we're pointing to long, hard workouts and processed foods and staying up late at night playing Xbox and stuff is because these things are heavily associated with chronic stress. But when we focus too much of our attention on an influence, like a cheeseburger or a workout that is long and exhaustive, or staying up late at night and having other sorts of stress, then we run the risk of becoming influentially reliable. Or we look at one thing and we say, that's the only thing I need to think about and worry about, and if I take care of that one thing, then I'm going to be set, and you're ignoring all of the other things that are potentially way more dangerous. Because as always, influences for some people are more of a threat than others. Processed food, for one person, may be a huge influential threat to their chronic inflammation. For someone else, maybe a pretty minor influence and they can handle it pretty well, so it's really not something they need to worry about as much, because most of their diet is pretty whole and not too promotion of inflammatory. Same thing with workouts. Like, oh, don't go over 45 minutes, cortisol and inflammation and all that. Some people can work out for hours and hours at a time and be fine. Other people, even half an hour is going to be too much. depending on their situation. And I know we like those simple fortune cookie answers to things that say, just focus on this one thing, or this is your simple answer, and that's going to take care of you. You don't have to worry about anything. But that's not how fitness works. That's not how life works. There's a lot of variables that are probably unique to you that we don't even know about that are causing chronic inflammation that really need to be addressed more than anything you're seeing in the media. That's why it's so important to always remember that it's more chronic stress that is associated with chronic inflammation. And be on the lookout in your own life of what dietary habits are stressing you out. What type of workout habits are you having trouble recovering from? What sort of lifestyle habits do you have where you're getting stressed out all the time, physically and mentally and emotionally, that you just need to back away from? Are you not having enough fun? Are you not getting enough sleep? Are you not treating yourself well? I mean, hell, with all the negative self-talk out there, we're telling ourselves, oh, the biggest problem in the world is fast food, but yet we beat ourselves up emotionally with negative self-talk. I would stand to guess that negative self-talk is way more inflammatory than a McDonald's cheeseburger. So we want to focus on the things that are naturally more of an influence in your life rather than what we're guessing at and saying, well, that's probably the influence. Just focus on that and ignore other things that are probably more important in your circumstances. As always, thank you so much for listening. If you got some value out of this, please, as always, reviews on iTunes and stuff are much appreciated. If you're watching this on YouTube, like button, share, subscribe, all that great stuff. I always appreciate your attention. Really do. Thoughts and comments, questions down below as always, and I'll talk to you next week. Till then, be fit, live free.